Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hi, Nancy. Welcome, everyone. Please say hello if you would like. It is evening here in Bali. And yeah, we were here 24 hours ago for Ancestral Clearing. Nancy, you came into that. Welcome from the Netherlands. Mais. I'm not sure if that's correct. Hi, Sheila. Mies. Thank you. It's been a while, Sheila. Nice to see you. So, I was just queuing up our continuing of the Michael Singer talk that we're going to be listening to. Hi, Leslie. Nice to see you again. Hello, Lotus. Nice to see you again as well. It's a little bit of deja vu here. Those of you that were here yesterday, if you did participate in the interactive ancestral clearing, if you care to share how you're doing, how that experience was for you. And if you weren't here, we did a practice that I do that's called ancestral clearing. And we did it more in an interactive way than the usual way where I perform prayers. So, yeah, it was great. Good morning, Tawana. Nice to see you. And glad you will be here more often, Sheila, or hope to. That's great. So, it's been a long and wonderful day, and the day is not over because after this, I have a group coaching call from 9:30 to 11 p.m. So, it's a stretch this time of night for me to have an active brain. Oh, great, Sheila. People that don't have a profile pic, I can't see that you're here unless you say hello. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just whatever the way Insight Timer works. The only people that I see floating at the bottom of the screen are ones that have a pic. So I just say that to say, like, usually the people that come in regularly at some point, and if you don't change your profile photo, I come to know you by your photo and say hello. And so if anyone doesn't have that, I won't know you're here unless you say something. So I say that to just say I'm not ignoring anyone. I just don't know you're here. So, hi, April, Carolyn. Ooh, great, Leslie, it was your first time. And Lotus as well. Beautiful. Hi, Andrea. Early morning where you are. Great. So I will bring in the interactive ancestral clearing. I call it somatic because those of you that were here know it's body based. Yeah, I will bring that in more often, perhaps every other week, because I do Reiki as well, like a more focused Reiki session. And so I can alternate it between the ancestral clearing and the Reiki. So that's what I will do. Oh, cool. Thanks for sharing that, Leslie and Carolyn, sisters. Oh, that's great. And Sheila, no worries on not having the photo up. I am simply explaining how Insight Timer works, and if you or anyone has wondered about that. So, all right. So I know a couple of you said you were here for the first time. So I'm Natalie, spiritual life coach and Reiki Master Teacher, and also intuitive. Yeah, give me a follow here on Insight Timer. If you appreciate this space, give a donation if you'd like. Follow me. This will be up on my YouTube channel as a replay. I put the ancestral clearing one up already, so I know a couple of you asked or wondered about that, so it's there. You can send me a message to find that, or my name. You can just search my name. It's very easy to find me. And you can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram, check my website, join my group here, Natalie's Healing Circle, and listen to my meditations in the app. And I do have 2 ancestral clearing prayers in my meditation section here in Insight Timer. So I wanted to share briefly who all was here in the Conversations with God. I think it was last week, and we talked about money and giving money away and following your first impulse. Is anybody here for that? It might have been 2 weeks ago. Yes. So I thought of y'all here in Insight Timer, and wanted to share this for those that were, because I was tipping the delivery food driver earlier, and I had an idea of what I wanted to give, and so I opened my money to look for it, and it was just, and then I saw a bigger bill, and then I put the bill away, and I'm like, no, find the other money. But then immediately my mind was into oh, but give that first impulse, give the bigger bill. And then I'm like, no. And then was looking for the smaller, and then I'm like, no, just screw it. I'm giving the bigger one. So, and I'm in Indonesian rupiah here, so to tell you the denominations would be meaningless. But I was looking for 10,000 rupiah, and I ended up giving him a 20,000 rupiah bill, which I think is $1.30 in the US. So, did I say hi to Jessica? Yeah. And that's actually if anybody did miss that teaching in Convos with God, that's a really powerful one. And I think in the replay on YouTube, I named it something about money, or you can ask me if you want to replay that. So, who does not know who Michael Singer is? Do we have any singer virgins? Or a more polite term would be a singer newbie. Anybody not know Michael Singer? Not know The Untethered Soul? Awesome, Lotus. Great. So he is a spiritual teacher that has an amazing life and an amazing story and an amazing mindset. He has so much mental discipline. I really admire him for that, and commitment to his spiritual journey, which has led him to be where he is today. He wrote The Untethered Soul. He's most famous for. Oprah put that on the map back in 2008 or 10. He also wrote The Surrender Experiment, his memoir, which is also amazing, and Now Living Untethered. So the books are different than the talks, in my experience. Has anybody else that knows Singer have that as well? Like, I read The Untethered Soul years ago, and it's a great book, and I remember, like, it was like my Bible for a while, and I carried it around and was just immersed in it. And The Untethered Soul as well. The Surrender Experiment as well. But 2 years ago or so, my friend sent me one of his talks, and it just blew my mind. I'm like, this is, for me, a totally different experience than reading his books, is hearing his message in his talks. And since then, my fandom for him has just, grown by leaps and bounds, and I've introduced him to many of you here, and many of my coaching clients as well. So Leslie is a newbie. Woo! Hi, Joe. Nice to see you on my side of the world. So we've been listening to a talk. If you want the link to the talk, send me a message. It's called Doing the Real Work to Free Yourself. Don't worry if you're just jumping in, you didn't miss anything. Like, it's fine. You can just jump in and hear it from here on out. And don't worry about that. So the way it works is we're going to listen, and then just whenever I feel like pausing, I will, and sharing. And please ask questions, make comments. So let's go ahead and dive in. Let's see. I'm going to look at these chapters. And by the way, y'all, the one we're listening to has 1.5 million views. And to me, that is so inspiring that this kind of a spiritual talk is going to be that popular. It gives me hope for humanity. For real. I'm so serious. That if something like this has 1.5 million views, 24,000 likes, whatever, 973 comments on this, like, we're gonna make it as a species. But yeah, we're gonna go, we're here right now. Because it's divided into little chapters. So I invite you to listen, pay your attention to this space fully, into these words, and take this in, because this is something I invite you to not be distracted while you're listening to. It will have, it'll sink in and have more of an impact. So, good morning, Kiana. So we'll jump in. Here we go.
That's serious, okay? Right? People do all kinds of things because they want to. They want to enough to where their will is strong enough that they can apply it. You want out? See, you're Yakuza, but for a different reason, all right? You're a great being. You want liberation? You know what it's like to have like garbage going on inside of you? Are you willing, when you get consciousness, awareness, that the moment you see it's about to get pulled over here or over here, are you willing to relax? Are you willing to just relax? You let it go. God, I always explain it this way. People think you have to be strong to do this. You do not have to be strong to do this. It's not a question of strength. Let's say you're doing a tug of war with, I always say, the entire Gator football team's on one end and you're on this end, all right? And you want to go home and have lunch, but they're pulling it the wrong way, all right? And you're pulling, you're holding. You learned every technique. You learned how to bend your knees. You learned how to do, the karate stuff. You learned how to dig your heels in. You learned to wrap it around your waist. And, oh my God, you've learned every single tug of war technique that could possibly exist. And you're going, they're pulling you, all right? And all of a sudden, Yoda shows up, right? Little Yoda sitting down there, right? Luke, let go. And he says, what do you mean let go? If I let go, they're going to pull me face first. Let go of the rope. Whoa, you see, Yoda's very smart, all right? What do you mean? I'm trying, I'm pulling. See where your hands are? See where your hands are holding the rope? Yeah? Let go. Relax your hands. What will happen? Many of you do, go home for lunch. Do you understand that? The minute you do, that's why relaxation is always the answer.
So just to orient those who, if you weren't here last week or whatever, I've heard this so many times, I know it. He's talking about how do you work with your energy and work with yourself to attain liberation and self-realization and awakening and enlightenment, if you want to say that. And so he's saying that it's a matter of wanting to enough, wanting to have peace and bliss, committing to it, wanting it bad enough that you're willing to do it every second in every moment of the day. And then what the example he's just giving now about this tug of war. So what he just said was, the minute you notice a resistance coming up to something that's in your reality, or wanting to cling to something, clinging or resistance, fear, desire, attachment, anything like that, any sort of reaction, that he uses this example. What do? The minute you notice that tendency, you let go. So he gave that tug of war example of the let go. You don't fight it, you let go. So it's this internal shift in this, what he calls relax and release. And he calls this the highest technique. And he's always saying he doesn't teach techniques, and there's a million techniques. So he gives that one. So there's that.
So when this distraction, the jealousy, the insecurity, the whatever it is, right, starts pulling on you, and I just need you to have that conscious for one moment, to where instead of saying the solution is to run after it, the solution is to suppress it, right? Let's say you're attracted to somebody that's inappropriate, right? You're married and all of a sudden you get attracted to somebody. What are you going to do? I'm going to suppress it. It didn't happen. No, it's terrible. Oh my God. And you suppress it. Well, you're in big trouble. I'm telling you, you're in big trouble. You just destroyed your life. You destroyed your relationship with your spouse. You destroyed everything. Because you just blocked the flow of your energy with this thing you shoved down there. Suppression is the worst thing you can ever do. Understand that? All right? Or, okay, I'm going to sit there and deal with it, express it, or do what the heck it is, try to fix it, right? No. The right thing to do is, if something comes up, to relax and release. And what you've done then is allowed the room for the cause to pass through. You'll now love your spouse more. You'll love everybody more, because you release the blockage that caused the reaction. Does anyone understand what I'm talking about? Okay. So this thing about the rope, that's big, right? You're there, you're conscious. An event takes place that triggers you, and all of a sudden you start to get distracted. It starts to pull. It's a pull. It's like a water ski. Have you ever water skied? The boat pulls you. That's what this distraction does. It pulls your consciousness toward it. Relax. Relax and release. I call it R&R. You need some R&R, right? You relax and release. And what will happen is the energy will not pull the consciousness out, and you will have transcended and transmuted the power of that energy. Now, you listen to me, right? I'm literally saying the power that had over you, when you are able to relax your way through it, that power comes back to self every single time. And it builds the power of self. Next time, your will be 100 times stronger than it was this time. Do you understand that? All right, so you're either giving your will to what's pulling on it. If you're trying to stop drinking, every single time you don't drink, you are more likely to not drink. Do you understand that? Every time, oh, but I had a bad day. You made it through it. You didn't do it. You built the power of will in the power of self. And likewise, every single time you do drink, after 5 years of not drinking, you got all your chips together, go have one drink and tell me how easy the second one is. Does anybody understand? The power of not doing it that you built over 5 years is almost totally overcome by drinking once. Go ask AA, they'll tell you. The same thing goes with any of these habits. Because your neural pathways are carved to do it, if you refeed them, they flow right back there. So it's the same thing here.
This is such an important point. Is this landing? Hi, Keela, Jeff. I saw a couple of people join. And I'm in AA, so I totally get it. And has anybody ever quit anything? Has anybody ever quit anything and gone back? Hi, Christian. Hi, Fatima. Yeah, I mean, the AA example, and I've done that. I got clean and sober when I was 17. I was in rehab for a year. And I didn't drink or do drugs for 18 months. The minute I picked up, it was like not a day had went by that I didn't do it. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm just going to go get drunk, tonight only. It started off the whole lifestyle again. And I mean, I was an alcoholic, so that's not going to be everybody's experience. But has anybody ever quit smoking? And I mean, I've done that. Quit smoking, started back again. Yeah, negative thinking. And quitting sugar. I'm actually 4 years sugar-free this month. And I remember in my days leading up to that, I mean, I had months where I was back and forth, and I was like quitting for a few days here and white knuckling. And then I'd say the cravings would be so bad, I'd say I'd just give in. And then, I'll just start right back tomorrow. Nope, it's so much harder to start right back tomorrow. Thank you. So he's talking about that, and he's talking about your will and how when you don't give in to the impulse, that energy goes back to self. So this is the part that's really cool and interesting that, you don't hear every day. But that when you relax and release, and when you don't let that energy get suppressed, use it to suppress or cling, then that adds to your personal power, and your will becomes stronger. But then, so say you're, doing this practice, you're not suppressing, you're not resisting, you're not clinging, and then you get lazy and just revert back to the old habits. He says it's that, like, you lose that. It's that much harder to start back again. So he explains it better than me, of course. So you can listen to this again. I mean, like I said, I've heard this talk many times, and still some of these more subtle points still get to digest.
Are willing to let go. So I'm talking to you about the deepest state. I'm in the witness. I see what's going on. I've been given the grace. At first it's just a moment. But no one can tell me that they do not see what's going on. I did 30 years of prison work. Those are not exactly the most self-controlled people. Every one of them, max security, murder, rape, everything. They're in there for life, okay? And we would talk like this, and every one told me that before they did what they did, there was a moment in which they were perfectly aware of what they were about to do. If they started to get angered and just all of a sudden be there, it starts somewheres. It starts to build up, and then it explodes. You deal with it the moment it shows up, let go, and then you come tell me what's going to happen to you, because I'll see it in your eyes. The power that it had over you gets transmuted to you, to the self, and all of a sudden this tremendously powerful center of being is what exists. And all of a sudden, if you do it with jealousy, the power you build in letting go of jealousy is there for food, it's there for this, it's there for everything. You're building the power of your being, right? That's why I was talking about personal growth, all right? They talk about, when you work out, they talk about core, building the core of your being. This is the core of your being. Now you're doing core workout. You're building the center of your being to be strong enough to let go of the pull that these habits and tendencies have over you. Every single time you let go, a piece of those rocks that are causing disturbance are purified. And this is real spiritual growth. And this is yoga, right? The reason you do all your practices is to learn to sit in this seat and let go. Well, how often do I let go? Every single time. But aren't there times I need to deal with something? That's what you want to say, don't you? Isn't there times I need to deal with something? Of course there are times you need to deal with something. But you don't deal with what's outside until you've dealt with what's inside. If you don't let go first of your anger, your jealousy, your insecurity, your fear, your need, then everything you're going to be doing outside is for you. You understand that? If I'm attracted to you, right, and I say, I'll have to deal with that, I have an attraction, you're not dealing with that, you're dealing with your attraction. It's going to run your life. It's going to determine what you say, what you don't say, right or wrong. Same thing with your fears and insecurities. If you don't let go inside, the inside will run the outside. Does everybody see that? I always use a terrible example. Your kid's 16 years old, you get a call from the principal in the high school. We found drugs in your kid's locker. You need to come down here right away, blah, blah. Okay, well, that's not fun, is it? It's exactly what I'm talking about. It's the same thing. All your junk comes up inside. What did I do? Oh my God, my husband finds out. He already thought our relationship is bad. He's going to blame me. I don't know. Right or wrong? Okay? And what will the neighbors think? Oh my God, if I have to go down there, people will see me. They'll see me walk in the principal's office, and I don't want to have a kid that does drugs. Oh my God, it's just, all right? Not a single word that went on inside you had anything to do with that child. It all had to do with you. Right or wrong? It hit your stuff. Okay? What did I do wrong? That's what you say to the kid. What did I do wrong? Why'd you do this to me? That'll help a lot. Right? You're not even trying to help the kid. You're trying to help yourself. Do you understand that? So when it hits, it's going to come up inside. You always let go. Nobody believes me. You always let go. Always. There's never, ever a time that the highest dharmic right thing to do is not let go. All right? Okay. Here it comes. Here's all the personal garbage. Do the best you can to let go of yourself every single time. Now what? Now that you are clear clearer anyways, all right? Now, not perfect, you're not going to be perfect, but at least you didn't go with the initial reaction. You stayed centered and clear. Now that you are clear, look outside. Is there something to deal with? Not that something to deal with is you. You don't ever deal with you. The only way to transcend the personal self is to transcend the personal self. There's nothing to do about it. What do I do about it? Nothing. You let it go. All right? If it's inside of you, let it go. Let it go. That way you're using it to go to God. Every single thing you let go of, now how the bigger it is, the better. And you just keep letting go. Now, if you look outside and it's still there, now Sally not saying hello, when you're done with letting go of your insecurity, Sally not there anymore. There is nothing to do. I'm telling you, my experience is 95% of these situations, there's nothing to do. It's just that it hits your stuff. All right? And if you let it go, there's nothing to do. You know? Well, what if Sally's mad at me? You'll find out later. What if she didn't hear me? Well, no one will find out. It doesn't matter. It's completely irrelevant. The only problem was you. How's that? Right? If the only problem is you, let it go. It's much easier. It's great. Not only was it easier and better for Sally and your relationship, but it actually took you to God because you let go of a piece of the garbage that got hit. It is always the highest thing to do to let go. Do you understand that? Right? You relax and you release. It's not easy, is it? Right? That stuff that's getting hit, that's stored down there because you didn't like it when it happened. Remember, you pushed it away? If it was stored with pain, I am telling you, it is coming back up with pain. Let's get this straight, right? There's no, can't I purify it? Can't the guru come down and purify it so it's beautiful? I love the guru. I worship all the time, all right? Literally, Mayor Baba actually talked about that. Isn't that amazing? He was an amazing being. A disciple raised their hand and said, but Mayor Baba, you're talking about getting rid of all this stuff, the cocoon of karma that's built inside, the samskaric seeds. Why can't the master just come down with a scissor and cut the cocoon and free the soul? There you go. That's a good idea. All right? And he answered very sternly and strongly. He said, first of all, the master can do anything. If it's truly a master merged with God, he has all the power in the universe. He would never, ever do it under any circumstances, ever. Because then you did not evolve enough, which is the purpose of life. You did not evolve enough to liberate yourself. Therefore, you didn't come back to God. You're not strong enough. You didn't go. That's like sitting there saying, well, I'm in third grade, and I want to go to Harvard and get a law degree. Okay? Could they give me the certificate? Well, they could, but I don't want to go to you as a lawyer. There's this thing called learning that's supposed to happen in between. You understand that? Evolving. That's the exact same thing with the soul. So it's not about the stuff not hurting. It's about you weren't able to handle it when it happened. You couldn't handle the Sally didn't say hello. Come on, give me a break. There's 7 billion people on the planet Earth. They didn't say hello to you. Because you couldn't handle one of them, all right? That's how you have to look at it. So there's not something wrong with Sally that she didn't say hello. There's something wrong with me, that I can't handle the most simple things in the whole world, correct? All right, so you let it go. You use it wisely and you release it. If you will do this, like I said, you will find that you stay centered. What does that mean? I don't get pulled away by the distraction. Now you have a definition of what it means to be centered. The consciousness remains in the seat of self. Even though a distracting event took place and began to pull on it, it came back to its center. It didn't go all the way out. It started to go out. It's like a whoop, whoop. That's what it feels like inside. Whoop, right? It starts to pull out. You relax. You don't pull it back. I'm telling you, don't try to be stronger than the noise that's distracting you. The key is to relax. If you relax, you stay. Isn't that neat? It is the relaxation that does it. So you relax through these disturbances. Every one you relax through makes you stronger for any other one. And eventually, I shouldn't tell you this, right? It's not that there's this one moment that something starts to distract you. It all gets into slow motion at a level that's absolutely ridiculous. It feels like you have 10 hours to decide, am I going to go out there? I spent years and years, I've invested, look what I've invested. Sometimes you'll get to the point where you realize, I let go of 7,000 things for all these years. Now something bigger happened. Am I willing to give up the pain, the strength, the work I did of letting go of 7,000 for this one? Right? And see why I use the analogy of alcoholism, of AA? I got chips, 5 years worth of chips. Now I got this situation. Am I really willing to give all that up that I did when I went through exercising that will? Because this one thing is stronger, and you'll start finding that, you want to build on your investment. So it then goes into slow motion, and all of a sudden you have all the time you need, and then only a fool would consciously say, what the hell, I'll do it anyways. I'm serious. Your mind will sit there and say, well, I don't want to be a goody-goody. I just sit there and what's wrong with this? This is a good opportunity. This opportunity won't come back later, right? I can just go do this and have a drink. I want you to equate it to going with the energy that's pulling you from your center. I want you to equate it to going back on heroin after you went through withdrawal and got off. I went now bigger than drinking, okay? It's like, really? You really want to do that, do you? Because I'm telling you, if you go with that energy, right, you will have given up. If it takes a 100 to not go with it, once you go with it, it offsets 600. I'm serious. I'm not exaggerating. Ask AA. If you stop drinking 10 times and then you take one, it totally offsets the 10 times, completely and utterly, doesn't it? Okay? So you learn to work with your center. I've taken you to a beautiful place, which is I'm in here. I am aware that I have crap in here with me. How about you? Right? And it can get hit. That's stuff you stored from before. It was stored with pain. I wasn't able to handle it when it happened. It's going to come back up. Am I capable of handling it now? So Sally went by. Now I hear the word Sally. Obviously, it's not as big as the first time, but I feel a discomfort. The slightest discomfort, I will not accept not a tinge of it. If it moves, I'm letting it go. If it happens in the heart or it happens in the mind, first reaction, relax and release, right? Then look to see, is there something I'm supposed to deal with? If there is still something out there, then you're clear enough to deal with what's out there instead of being distracted by what's going on inside of you. Does anyone hear me? All right? If you are distracted by what's going on inside of you, I don't want to be around when you're dealing with what's outside, because you're not dealing with what's outside. You're trying to manipulate the outside to make you feel better inside, aren't you? Okay? So basically you learn this practice. This is your spiritual practice. What? Letting go. When? Always. Every single second, the driver in front of you is driving too slow, let go. The behind you beat, you were sitting there at the traffic light, you're looking at your little smartphone, and you didn't go with the traffic light, meh, right? I mean, really obnoxious. It was only 2 seconds, obnoxious beat, all right? Stuff's going to come up, isn't it? Right? You're going to say something to that guy. He don't hear you. You don't hear a word, all right? Nothing going on in there, right? Let it go. There's an excellent opportunity. You understand that? You're driving and you deliver something somewhere, and it starts pouring, and you have no time frame. You have to get there, and it's raining, and there's nothing you can do. You are going to get wet. Let it go. Let what go? Getting wet, you wish you could. Let go of the resistance to the reality of the situation that's in front of you. Do you hear what I'm saying? Why not? What do you want this garbage? I know I talk to him. I know he's saying I have to go somewhere. God doesn't like me. What are you doing? Let it go. It's not a game. Work with yourself constantly, relentlessly. A yogi works with themselves every single second. You work with everybody else every second. Everybody, it's a full-time job to get everybody to be the way you want, isn't it? Right? You're out there manipulating, controlling, doing everything else. Instead, you work with yourself, and you just keep letting go. And wait till you see what happens. I'm telling you what will happen. I laid it out. I've never talked to you this way before. I've laid it out for you. At first, it's hard, right? Because you want to fix it. Either suppress it or fix it, right? No, relax. You'll learn to do it. You'll practice, just like learning a piano or learning to play tennis. Practice, practice, just practice. Don't get hard on yourself. Don't worry if it fails, right? What if you play the piano and you make a mistake? I don't want to play. Well, that's ridiculous, right? It's good. It means you need to learn things, right? If you sit there, you're trying to let go, and all of a sudden you didn't, you get caught somewhere, and you like, oh my God, I should have let that go. Don't get guilty. Don't get this. Just, you were practicing the piano and you made a mistake. Just get back up. Say, next time, I'll be a little wiser next time, all right? And it helps you. And you just keep letting go your whole life, every single second. And then, like I said, what will happen is you'll get used to feeling from inside this tendency for the consciousness to be drawn away from the center toward the distraction. I love that I taught you that. That's what's happening. It's being pulled toward the loudest distraction, right? Relax, it'll come back. Relax, it'll come back. And every time it comes back, the power of the distraction gets invested into the seat of self. And all of a sudden, your center, you can't even talk about it. You become what's called a being of power. And you feel it. That power you build inside, this is Shakti. You're building the power of being, of yourself, back to the center of self. Well, if I start coagulating and consolidating power in one place, it gets powerful, doesn't it? All right? And that's where all the power comes from. So where healing comes from, where Shakti comes from, where everything comes from. It's from building that center and not letting pieces of it get drawn away by the distractions. Doesn't mean you have to go into the Himalayas and not get distracted. I would rather have you work in your everyday life and not get distracted. I'm not impressed if you can go into a sensory deprivation cave and not be distracted, right? I'm impressed if you can stand in your everyday life and not be distracted by this garbage going on inside of you. And the growth is way better too. You understand that? This is how you use every moment of your life to go to God. It's fun, isn't it? All of a sudden it's this exciting journey of transcending yourself, as opposed to getting what yourself wants so you don't have to transcend yourself. What's happening now, your needs, your desires, your likes, your dislikes are the reflection of where you're caught. Something bothered you before, so you now want something to happen that doesn't bother you. You saw somebody had a nicer car than you, and the girl or guy went with them in high school, and now all of a sudden you got this thing about a nice car. It's just, you're just reliving your garbage with your likes and dislikes. Instead, you relax and release, relax and release, relax and release, relax and release. All right? Then it will build your center, like we talked about, and it gets stronger and stronger, and eventually you will reach a point where the joy, the love, the power is feeding you from inside. And there's nothing that can come in from outside that's more beautiful than what's going on inside. Every one of you have that center, right? Like Yogananda said, there is a river of joy flowing inside of you. Find it, go there, get in, and drown. That's yoga. This is how you find it. You ask, how do I find it? Don't go looking for it. Don't get a map, all right? You keep, does everybody understand? I want to know, letting go. Do you see the power of that? The power of relaxing and releasing to allow the chi, the Shakti, to build back into your center. And then eventually it starts flowing up. That's what it does. Because you're not going with the pull down, it changes direction. It literally changes direction. It starts flowing up and feeding you. Now, if you're smart, you realize this is more beautiful than I ever experienced. I'm going to hang out with this. And now you start really, really building a center inside yourself, and you would never let anything take it away from you. And then it gets stronger. It just does nothing but get stronger all the time. And eventually, it gets so strong, what does? The joy, the beauty, the bliss, the ecstasy flowing up inside of you that you can't stand it. Literally, can't stand in his presence. It starts pulling you into it. You're not doing anything. It's not an act of meditation. It's just pulling you into it. It's so beautiful that you want to just melt. You don't even want to exist. You want to just melt into it. Now you're being pulled naturally into the higher states. You fall into a breathless state with that going on. Now that's very honorable. You understand that? Because you purified. Those states don't come and go. Now you become, that's where the great masters lived. They merged. They just released the personal completely. And now you have Christ saying, my Father and I are one. So notice I started with the personal garbage. That's what I should get from this talk. I started with the dirty stuff, didn't I? Your laundry. And we ended up in God. But permanently in God. Not some experience I had. It's my state of being because you let go of the rest. So this is called, I've talked to you about, but I've never really talked to you this way before, right? That is called the evolution of the soul. That entire process I just talked to you about is the evolution of the soul. It is becoming stronger and stronger and stronger because it's able to let go of what was pulling it down. It becomes healthier and healthier, and eventually there's not a single thing in this world, nothing, which you have to shoot. I'm going to get in the morning. There's a line that says, the man that has tasted the bliss of the self may move amongst objects of sense without fear. His mind never clings to the world's misery. His heart is with God, and his soul is set free. How does that sound? Like what we just talked about, right? And it's called Jivan Mukta. You're now a liberated being. So you all are beautiful, beautiful people, or you wouldn't be here, right? You turn to yoga, you turn to Eastern teaching, you turn to meditation. That's really beautiful. Never forget what we just talked about. Because because that is the evolution of your soul. That's the reason you took birth on this plane. Earth is a place that souls are sent to evolve. You understand that? So this is what you're doing. You're doing your dharma. People say, what's my dharma? I just told you. That's your dharma. The rest will happen naturally by itself. Well, thank you. Thank you for being interested in these things. Thank you for listening. You change the world when you change yourself. You understand that? Jagrita, Jai Masters.
Let that sink in for a minute. It's powerful. Does anybody have any questions? Is there anything not clear, or maybe if this is your first time hearing this, or you're just jumping in? Yes, Carolyn, Blossom Violet. It's the evolution of the soul. So that means that everything that we perceive as problems is actually the path to bliss and peace. So these things that our mind labels as problems are opportunities. They're trying to give us what we want. We want everything we want in life because we want to feel freedom, peace, and joy. And then because we cling or resist, we store the stuff inside. And then the outside world hits our stuff. So it's actually trying to cleanse and purify. So if we let go, as he was saying, if we relax and release when we feel the constriction inside, eventually we do that enough, then we start going into these higher states, which is what we're seeking anyway outside. And we hear this all the time, everything we want is within us. We don't need anything outside of ourselves. God is within. It's true. So the question is, how bad do you want it? Did you hear him say, how often do you do this? Every single second? Everybody's not up for that. Everybody's not suffered enough or committed enough, and I can definitely raise my hand there. It takes what it takes, as we say in AA. It takes that same level of desperation. I was leaving a message for a coaching client earlier who's also in the program, AA program, and they were sharing about where they were at this breakthrough point. And I was like, remember, this is like your first meeting. Anybody that's ever gone to a 12-step meeting or a group therapy meeting or a rehab or a detox or a therapy or something really difficult to do, that first meeting You have to walk in alone and you don't know anyone. You've got to really want something different bad enough. And I can say me, I'm speaking from my own experience. I actually went because I had legal trouble, so it wasn't from my own volition. But you know, I was reflecting on my first 30 days of sobriety and how I craved alcohol every minute of every day, it felt like. So I had to have that level of commitment to not drink while I was having horrible cravings that seemed to never go away. And now I have over 25 years sober. But as he said in his talk, if I were to pick up a drink again, all of the power from all of the times where I didn't drink, it'd be gone. And it would, at some point, I'd be drinking like I was 25 years ago. So I'm using this as an example of like the commitment, the willingness, the desperation, the grace for us to do this practice that he's talking about. And actually, this is harder than quitting drinking, because it's within us. It's this internal thing. Thank you. When I, have been watching my food, like not emotionally eating, this really came up. Because it's like, okay, I can quit alcohol, I can quit drugs, I can quit smoking, I can quit sugar, but I have to eat food. Yeah, exactly, Kiana. When it's this internal thing inside, our thoughts, our emotions, it's so close. It's so close to us. But yet, it is not us. And that's what he said too, and that's what the spiritual teachings say. We establish that seat of consciousness and that seat of self. And that's what he said earlier, even today, of like that you see that propensity to go with the distraction, to get caught up. And you relax and release, and you return to center, and you build that seat. That seat of consciousness. So, if anybody wants the link to that talk, send me a message. I have a playlist on my YouTube of all of these, and they're in a row. So if it's interesting to you to listen back with the commentary of the live streams, I can share that. Great. So just, anyone that would like that, send me a private message. Yeah, watching the thoughts. Accepting what is. So, thank you all for joining. And as he ended the talk with, he was acknowledging what people are doing, that are interested in this stuff. And I want to acknowledge all of you. As I said, 1.5 million views on that thing. We're all part of the awakening of humanity, so thank you for even being interested in this. Yeah, you're welcome. Yes, sitting in the discomfort and relaxing around it, or he says, you relax your body. You don't relax the discomfort, you relax around the discomfort. I've got my group coaching call in 20 minutes. I've got to wake up. I'm always afraid they're going to call on me because it's like my bedtime right now. But this call is in America, so I am glad I get to do it, and it's something I get to push through is the tiredness. So anyway, thank you all. Don't forget to press follow here, donate if you'd like, follow me everywhere. Yeah, so I would recommend reading his books if these topics are interesting. And so we're going to be doing this every week or every other week. So we just finished that one. He's got so many amazing ones. So stay tuned. I also made a playlist in my YouTube of just good Michael Singer talks. So if you want that, send me a message. And they're not the live replays, but I do have the things we've listened to also in a playlist. So if you want to just listen to them on your own. So, ooh, Nancy, lighten up. Yeah, well, start with traffic and weather. Don't start with your family. I mean, if your family is there, do your best and start with somebody pulled out in front of you, or you're in the slow line in the grocery, and then you change lines, and then that line's even slower. Like, start with that. Start with it's raining when you don't want it to rain. He calls it practicing your scales. You don't start with Beethoven. You don't start with your childhood trauma. Which, if it comes up, you can do it, but don't go looking. So, you're welcome, Joe. All right. Have a wonderful day. I will be live again. If you follow me, you'll know. But it might not be until Conversations with God on Friday night, Saturday morning. So, I'll see you then, if not before. And also Saturday Night Live. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Kiana. Thank you, everyone. Much love.